Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, let's dive right into one of the most compelling leadership stories ever told. It's this timeless tale about power, jealousy, and what it means to have radical integrity. We're talking about the rivalry between King Saul and the young shepherd David.
And look, this isn't just some dusty old story. It's a really powerful case study in leadership under pressure. On one side, you've got Saul, the king on the throne, chosen by the people but clinging to power because he's just terrified of losing it. And then you've got David, the king in waiting, forced to live like a fugitive, even though he's got this divine promise of a crown. Their contrast, it just reveals so much about what true power is all about. So our story kicks off with a kingdom in total crisis. The guy in charge, King Saul, is being eaten alive by jealousy. And his target? This popular young warrior, David, who's secretly been anointed to be the next king. This forces David to go on the run, becoming a fugitive in his own country.
So what's really at the heart of all this? Well, Saul looked the part of a king, right? He was the people's choice, but deep down, his leadership was hollowed out by this massive insecurity. So when David, this young guy chosen for his character, becomes a national hero, Saul's fear just morphs into this relentless, years-long manhunt. David ends up living in the wilderness, in caves, with his band of outcasts. And this whole ordeal, it becomes this intense series of tests, forcing David to figure out what kind of leader he's going to be long before he ever gets near a crown.
And this all leads us to this one incredible moment of tension, set in a dark cave where David's character is put to the ultimate test.
Seriously, think about that. The one person who has made your life a living nightmare, who's hunted you, who wants you dead, is suddenly right there in front of you, totally alone and vulnerable. Well, David faces this exact scenario when King Saul, in the middle of this huge manhunt, just happens to wander into the very same cave where David and his men are hiding.
You can just imagine his guys whispering in the dark. This is it. This is your moment. God delivered him right into your hands. I mean, the path to the throne is literally just one quick sword thrust away. But what David does next is stunning. He creeps up and just cuts off a corner of Saul's robe. And even that small act of disrespect eats him up with guilt. He absolutely refuses to take the violent shortcut to power. It's this incredible moment of restraint that just baffles his followers and, for a moment, totally shames his enemy.
Okay, so the big question, right? Why? Why would he do that? Why pass up the perfect chance to end it all? Well, this wasn't just about being a good person. It was about a core leadership principle that pretty much defined his entire life.
It all comes down to this idea of clean means. David basically lived by this code that how you get there is just as important as the destination itself. He was convinced that if he was truly destined to be king, he didn't need to use assassination or treachery to make it happen. You know, he didn't have to help God out with dirty tactics.
And this is what gave David this incredible security. He wasn't weak, not at all. He was just incredibly patient. He had this fundamental belief that justice and vengeance, well, that wasn't his job. And that conviction freed him from that crippling need to hit back, allowing him to show mercy when everyone, and I mean everyone, expected revenge.
But the real test, the ultimate test of this principle, well, it doesn't come when his enemy is vulnerable. It comes years later, when his enemy is finally dead and all those years of running are over.
So a messenger sprints to David with the news, probably thinking, jackpot, I'm about to get a huge reward. And to make his story even juicier, the guy lies. He claims he's the one who personally killed the wounded King Saul. He's trying to get on the new king's good side, assuming David would be thrilled to hear his #1 rival is finally gone.
And this is where we see David's true colors. His reaction is the complete opposite of what anyone would expect. Instead of celebrating, he's horrified. He actually has the messenger executed for daring to harm the king. Then he leads the entire nation in genuine mourning, writing this beautiful song that honors Saul's strengths, completely ignoring all the years of personal torment. He just refuses to build his kingdom on a foundation of lies and treachery.
So why are we talking about ancient kings in caves? What on earth does this have to do with us, right now? Because whether we realize it or not, we all face our own versions of these tests, in our jobs, in our families, in our communities.
Seriously, take a second and think about it. Who is the Saul in your world? Maybe it's that rival at work who's always trying to undermine you, or a difficult relationship you have to navigate, or maybe even just an unfair critic online. The dynamics of feeling wronged or hunted, they are absolutely timeless. So in that situation, what does it look like to choose clean means? Well, maybe it's the choice to not spread that piece of gossip, even if you know it's true.
or refusing to take a dishonest shortcut to get ahead of someone. It's about choosing to act with integrity when you think no one is watching, because you believe your character is worth more than a temporary win.
And man, this might be the toughest challenge David leaves us with. Can you look at your enemy and choose to see their value, to honor the best parts of them, even after they've shown you their absolute worst? And this isn't about letting them off the hook. It's about freeing yourself from the poison of bitterness so that it doesn't get to write your story.
And that's really the core takeaway from David's story. True strength isn't always about aggression or winning at all costs. Sometimes the greatest power is found in restraint. A lasting legacy in a life of real integrity is built on the battles you have the character to walk away from. The only question is, which will you choose?